Good morning there, everybody. Well, this is going to be kind of the intro to this video and the outro at the same time. But the topic of the day is, you ever do something to a vehicle and then you just live with it and it's okay, it's usable, but then you end up fixing that problem, like, I don't know, upwards of 2 years later? And then you're just kicking yourself going, why the hell didn't I fix this a long time ago? Well, I did that to this truck. Now we'll get to the live action and I'll show you what I did to fix this thing. We've got a fun one today. Gonna try and do the world's fastest shock change on the back of the V8 swapped Ford Ranger. So as many of you know, this truck has been lowered on a flip kit in the back. It was done on a budget. It's the cheapest lowered Ford Ranger in the country. I just put a pair of generic Monroe gas Magnum shocks on the back of it because they had the proper dimensions for the lowered part of the truck. And unbeknownst to me, those shocks are actually valved for an F350. I don't know what year or configuration of F350, I just know that's what they're spec'd for. While this truck doesn't ride horribly, it doesn't ride good either. It's pretty rough over the square edge bumps or any harsh bumps going down the road with nothing in the bed. So I'm not expecting miracles, but I got to try something to get this truck to ride better. So after doing some Google searching, I think it was one of the Ford Ranger forums, somebody said that this is a very popular shock to put on Rangers that have had a flip kit put on them. This shock, it's a Bilstein, which is obviously a very good quality shock. This shock is spec'd for a two-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma, like late 90s. It makes much more sense to me that in theory, this shock should perform much better for the application. So this video is not so much about how to change your shocks on a Ford Ranger, even though you can use it for that. It's going to be more like, can we get the ride to be less terrifying? With these gas Magnums on the back, there's actually been times like on the freeway where you're going across expansion joints, going around a curve at say 60, 70 miles an hour, where it literally feels like the back of the truck is stepping out sideways on you because the truck's coming off the ground. That's not good. So we're going to try and rectify that. So coming underneath here, we've got a pair of stock Ranger Leafs. This is a 2007, by the way. Two-wheel drive standard cab. The overload leafs have been removed because with the way the truck is lowered, it's physically impossible for the overload leafs to activate without hitting the bump stops first. So I got rid of them because they're just I think it was like 50 pounds of dead weight. But yeah, let's get these shocks changed out. It's super simple on a Ford Ranger. Somebody correct me in the comments if necessary, but these may be American. I'm not really sure. But I'm going to be using a 15 millimeter and an 18 millimeter here. And then the nut for the top post or stud up there, that one should be an 18 millimeter nut. If you have tall enough jack stands when you're doing the shocks on the back of one of these, I recommend that you jack the truck up safely, chock it, and use jack stands on the frame so that the axle can drop out from underneath the truck a ways. That gives you much more room. I'm going to cheat a little bit and use power tools. You don't have to though. That's the Bilstein part number. May or may not be able to see any of this. Okay, one junky got Monroe gas Magnum out of here. That'll be going right in the trash can. Alright, so it's looking like these shocks are quite a bit shorter, but it should be okay. Alright, so believe it or not, the passenger side's actually easier to get to. You can just reach up over your tailpipe and get to the top nut. Before somebody asks me what the torque specs for this are, I don't know. Most people are not going to torque those top nuts because they're not going to get a torque wrench up in there. I'll see if I can get the Google AIs to find me the torque spec, and I'll put that in the video, but for me, it's just goot and tight. Gonna drive this thing to work tomorrow. I'm pretty excited to see how much better it is. Well, at least I can only presume it'll be better. It better be better. These shocks are not cheap. Whoops. Oh. Parking brake cable is zip tied to the shock. I really wanted to put a pair of QA1 double adjustable shocks on this, but that would be almost $500. Yes, I said $500. The Bilstein shocks were, the Bilsteins aren't cheap either, but they were only like $180 for the pair. So I put a little splash of WD-40 on the bushing. It won't hurt it. There she goes. Oh, I didn't make it. Alright, where's the bolts? Alright. That's what I was afraid of. I've got to go punch the steel bushings out of the old shocks and put them in the new shocks. But first, let's tighten this guy up. Alright, the top two nuts are tight. Otherwise, we'd be almost done. Gonna have to jack the axle up just a skosh. Alright, right in there. Should still be able to droop out quite a bit. That'll be its full droop, basically. I gotta get these bushings out. Oh, you guys went for a hell of a tumble. So this is the socket arrangement that I've got, and I'm just forcing that steel bushing out of there. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Oh yeah, so that's the bushing we want. Probably would have been quicker to go to the parts store and get a new pair of bushings. Okay, now I gotta get my old shock bushings smashed into the new shock bushings. Steel bushings into the rubber bushings, I should say. Oh yeah, I think if I just put a little WD on there, she'll go right in. Got my imitation Nipexes out. They're actually not really imitations, they're SKs. I'm trying not to just belligerently shoot WD-40 all over the bottom of this place. Just not gonna quite make it. Wouldn't that just figure? Come on, world's largest channel locks. Not really complaining that I gotta switch the shock bushings around because I'm mixing and matching parts here. Got Toyota parts going on a Ford Ranger. You guys are where I need to be. I can't see. Telling me it's gotta go up just a tiny little bit more. Okay, I cannot emphasize this enough. Anytime you're putting a shock on a car or a truck that has a steel bushing in it like that, if you don't pinch that steel bushing down with the bracket, you are going to have clunks in your ride. I repeat, you are going to have clunks in your ride. So these need to be torqued down tight enough to pinch that steel bushing. That should be around 80 to 100 foot-pounds. Okay, now we're on the side where we can see a little bit easier. Now we can wrestle our shock up into place. These are gas charged. All right, she's ready to be put back on the ground. Then we're going to take her for a ride. I think I can see a difference already just in the way the truck bounces on the jack. Well, I would say, really, the bounce test is inconclusive. We're going to have to go beat on it. Stay tuned for that. Well, stay tuned in this very video. So I just recently got back from a 2,500 mile road trip, and I can safely say that the Bilstein shocks 100% recommend for your lowered Ford Ranger. Man, just kicking myself for leaving it the way that it was for almost 2 years. This thing is a complete pleasure to drive in. So anyways, the front coincidentally has also two-wheel drive Toyota shocks, and they're a little bit soft for this combination. So in a upcoming video, if y'all want to stay tuned for that, I'm going to be doing a set of Viking coilovers, full-fledged coilovers on this truck. And no, nobody makes a Ford Ranger coilover kit, so stay tuned to see how I do that and how I make it work. That'll be, like I said, in an upcoming video sometime this spring. But other than that, that's all I got for this one. And if you got any questions, comments, concerns, y'all know where to put them down below. And we'll see you all on the next one.